Check test. Alrighty, that looks good. Check test. Audio check. Audio check.
Check test.
That sounds fine. Awesome. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's been a rainy day. It quit raining about 2 hours ago, but it's just kind of been drizzly all day. Never really rained, just enough to, make it so you didn't want to be outside. I did get, while we're killing time here, it's really weird. Every time the stream starts, it's like a bunch of people jump off or drop off, and then they come back on. I'm wondering if that's just some kind of anomaly with YouTube. But hey, everybody, good evening. And so glad to have everybody here. Aaron's in, made his way back up to Iowa, it sounds like. Rich is in from Germany. Tim Myers and Tom Downey are both here. If you're coming into the stream, drop us a comment over in the chat window. Let us know that you're here and you're watching, and where you're watching from. That'd be great. Well, liquid sunshine, Aaron. Let's see. In the pre-chat, we were just kind of chatting around about inflation and the cost of things, and I feel real lucky that I bought a bunch of plywood last spring for a project that I didn't need as much as I thought, and so I've got a little bit laid in to use on the truck camper, at least the thick stuff, the 3/4. And but yeah, lumber is out of control right now, as everything. Tom and I were chatting about, a can of Campbell's soup jumped 30 cents in the last 2 weeks. It went from about $1.10 to about $1.50 almost, $1.40, somewhere in there. 43, I think is what it went to. Anyway, I think things will start to slow down. They're going to start ratcheting up interest rates, and we're going to see this inflation come under control. That's the way it works. What can you and I do except just live with it, I suppose. Judy Kimbrough's in. Hi, Judy. Eric Myers is in. Good to see you, Eric. Scotty, Washington State, in between showers at the moment. Yeah, I hear you there, Scotty. I'll give you, see if I can not knock everything off. I'll give you guys a peek out the window here today. So you can see it's still pretty overcast, but there's the truck camper. I can't quite, the cable's not quite long enough, and I don't want to take a chance on unplugging the camera and crashing the stream like I did a couple weeks ago. Oh, Tim Cuneo from Georgia's in. Oh, they didn't get to go to Lake Lanier. Uh-oh, wife has kidney stones. Yeah, that's no fun. I had a bout of that last spring. So I totally get you there. Eric Meyer says he just replaced the fascia on his house at $1.55 a foot. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Luckily, I just got, by the way, Rich, your flooring is here. And here's what it's going to look like. This was what's in the living room, and this is as close as I could get. Ignore the circle marks on it. That's I've been using it as a coaster, but I'll be starting to put that in. Well, I've got to put it in the rig and let it acclimate for a couple days before I start to lay it, but I'll probably start that this weekend. We'll get that carpet out and get the flooring in the bedroom replaced for you. So looking forward to that. There'll be a video coming on that here probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks. I kind of have a couple I'm getting ready, and I've also started to collect a bunch of footage on the truck camper. Like I said, I did a bunch of work on it. I got all of the vents and everything loose from the roof. It was a total pain in the rear. It was they had used asphaltic roof cement, that asphaltic roof sealer, and that stuff was a dirty, rotten, bingity beep beep beepity beep 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 to get off. I had to heat gun every bit of it off, and of course now I've got all of that residue, so I'm still working on that. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to clean that up, But all of the vents came off, and it looks like there is a little patch in the roof that's gotten wet and rotten, back by the vent over the bathroom. But the roof the roof aluminum is ready to come off. But I was, I got that done on Saturday, I guess. And then they called for, wind and rain yesterday and today, so I just covered it back up because I went out and played golf on Sunday. First round of the year, had a great time. The weather was perfect. There was hardly no wind. I mean, just a really light breeze. And I think the temperature when we finished was about 65 degrees. Couldn't ask for better. Let's see. It's not raining and Whidbey Island. He says Tom got his spuds in today. Yeah, I might actually get a chance to do a garden this year. Had every intention of starting one last year and then ended up being gone all summer. So Aaron's reminding folks to check out my webpage at trbolin.com. That is very helpful. I've got a really good article that should be posting here within the next 3 or 4 days. A couple of good articles that I've been working on now for a couple months. It takes time. I'm too much of a perfectionist, I guess. Tim says his wife's one stone is going to pass, but the other one is 3/4 of an inch. Oh, no. Ouch. When that comes to kidney stones, that's like way big. Tom says he saw a camper just like mine for sale, $800. It sold in 15 minutes. Yeah, campers and RVs are still, trailers, everything is still selling really fast. However, it looks like manufacturers are catching up, but there's still massive parts shortages out there, it sounds like. I know that I ordered a new awning for the living room slide on Rusty. The second week of January, I think, approximately. And I finally got notified yesterday that it had shipped. Of course, it's 14 feet long and has to come in on a freight truck, YRC. So there'll be a video of us installing that too. I've cajoled my friend Don into helping with that one. So, yeah, lots of stuff happening here over the next couple months, which is a reminder to me to say don't forget that after next Tuesday will be the first Tuesday in April. I'll be cutting off on the weekly live streams and going to a monthly. So first Tuesday in April, first Tuesday in May, there will be live streams. The rest of the month I'll be taking off. If I get things done, then I might pop in sort of an impromptu, hit and run kind of thing. I might do. I know I won't have time this month. Excuse me. I'm gonna clear my throat just a second here. So that's probably what I can tell you right now. Round Town Scouters in from Carlsbad. Hi, great to have you here. So yeah, it looks like in some cases parts availability is starting to improve. I was going to replace the ladder on Rusty for Rich, but that is just back ordered from hell. I could not find one anywhere for that. It's really weird. It's 10.5 feet tall because it goes, from way low on the RV, and then there's a kink in the middle of it. And I looked at one of the universals. The problem is that the loops aren't tall enough to get up onto the roof to where you can do it safely. You want 6 or 8 inches of loop above the top of the roof, for the handrail to hold on to when you're getting up on there. And everything I found would be just barely off the top of the roof by the time I got it hung, So that's kind of turned into a big sticking point. But we'll sort through that. I guess I can get done what I can get done. In other news, I was thinking and looking at campground reservations in a couple of places, and they're getting really tight already. Here we are, not even the first part of April, and I couldn't get into Henry's Lake State Park. I'll be going up to Bill Frome County Park. Excuse me. I'll be going up to the Bill Frome County Park over the 4th of July, it looks like, which is free camping. It's first come, first serve. And since I've got lots of time on my hands, I'll be able to get in there early and, you know, get a good spot and enjoy the time up there. That's a great spot. Christopher Kelly's in from Tulsa. Hi, Christopher. So nice to have you here. I've been to Tulsa many times. We had an office there, and I did a bunch of work for a couple companies in Tulsa. I moved a data center from Dallas to Tulsa one time too, for an oil company. So yeah, I know Tulsa. It's a nice town. Yeah, not bad there. Tim Meyer says he made reservations for a trip in August today. Yeah, I don't know. You know, with Yellowstone and a lot of the national parks now starting to require reservations. I think there's only, now don't quote me on this, I need to go look this up for sure, but I think they're down to 1 or maybe 2 first come, first serve campgrounds in Yellowstone, and everything else is by reservation. And like I say, the campgrounds around Yellowstone, including the national park campgrounds, because there's several up in Montana, up on the Madison River. I looked at potentially getting, you know, trying to find a camp space in one of those. And they were sold out. They're, you know, booked up too, sold out, same difference, I guess. So I'll probably just, when I decide to go up on the Madison, go up a little early, get off the weekend, and I know there's plenty of spots along the river where you can just park, which is actually probably more preferable than being in a campground to a certain extent. So if you have any RV related questions, throw them over there in the chat window. I'd be happy to answer them. I have had a couple questions come in this week. I'll run over here just real quick and pull them up. It's I had I guess it was probably last year about this time. No, it was 2 years ago about this time, in the midst of the pandemic, when I couldn't go anywhere and I was looking for you know, projects to do. I rebuilt the fluorescent lights in Rusty, turned them from, you know, fluorescence into LED strip lights, custom built. And I had a fellow ask a question on that, asking for a schematic on how I'd wired them. And here's the rub with YouTube and comments and stuff. You know, you can post text, that's it. You can't really post schematics, you can't post things like that. I thought about doing it as, you know, potentially a community post, but it's so specific to this question. You know, I kind of just had to, you know, say, listen, if you can just email me, I'm happy to, you know, send you an send you a schematic. It's pretty straightforward. So, our friend Geardot had a question that he asked me about, and that would have to do with the solar panel. His battery maintainer. He's got a 25-watt battery maintainer solar panel, and he says it had the cigarette lighter adapter. Wanted to know if it works, you know, leaving it on the dashboard. Will it trickle charge the house batteries? And it does. That doesn't trickle charge your house batteries. It shouldn't. Now, well, first off, 25 watts is pretty small, pretty minimal. And the second thing is that it's more than likely that the cigarette lighter is on the chassis power system, not on the coach power 12-volt system, because you've got two independent 12-volt systems in self-propelled RVs. Yeah, it would work just fine, and it would trickle charge his coach batteries. Let me get that right. Will trickle charge his coach batteries, but probably not the house batteries. And again, 25 watts of 12 volt DC power is nothing. That's like 0.15 amps. That's hardly enough to keep a light bulb running, even an LED. Well, let's say 2 or 3 LEDs. So, yeah, we got him sorted out though. And that was pretty much it. So, if there's not a lot of questions tonight, I might have to break down and go do my laundry. I guess, Tom, okay, here's an alternative account. Send it to, and I'll type it in here, send it to trb@trbolin.com. That is, I have obviously multiple email accounts, and so yeah, send me an email to that account, trb@trbolin.com, and I should be able to get it there. I don't know why it's not coming through my Gmail. I've looked in the spam, I've looked everywhere, and I just don't see it coming. So, I don't know. Yeah, Tom Downey says fuel prices may slow the traveling down. I think what you'll see is, I think that you'll see that people are not going to travel as far. They're still going to go out. Because everybody has, cabin fever so bad. But I think they're going to go 100 miles instead of 300. I think that's probably what we'll see happen is that you'll see that the areas around your particular area are going to get really busy because people aren't going to be going as far out. But yeah, fuel is definitely going to slow things down for some folks. Tim asks, how's my dad doing? He's fine. Getting by just fine. I check with my spies regularly, and they report he seems to be doing okay. I talked to him on the phone, and everything seems acceptable. Tim Myers asks, are national park passes free to veterans? I don't think so, but I think there's a reduced price if you're over 65. Does anybody else know that question? Answer to that question? Aaron, you're a veteran. Do you know that? Tim asks, how do you adjust a controller on a truck, a brake controller? It's been so long since I've had one. Let me think. Yeah, I don't remember the exact procedure. That's a good question. I haven't had a towable with a brake controller for 15 years, and I have forgotten how I set those up. If memory serves, now I'm just guessing, but I seem to remember that the way I would set mine up is that when I was rolling down the road, I would, hit the brakes, and if I didn't feel the trailer dragging, I would turn it up a little bit. That also helps keep it from ranking forward on you when you hit the brakes on your vehicle. That'll stop the trailer from, ramming into the trailer ball really hard if you have that set correctly. But, I just don't recall, Tim. And that's a good question. Tim asks, is it the truck with the factory brake controller? I know, well, let's see. I had to adjust it on the Chevy when I pulled the Subaru home from Utah last fall. And I think that's what I ended up doing is I would just hit the brakes, touch the brakes, and I would adjust the trailer brake, which was adjusting the brake on the Subaru, the you know, because I had a brake system on it for towing behind Rusty. And I just adjusted it till I felt the brakes dragging a little bit and then let it off. And I think that, but I just don't recall right off the top of my head. There's probably an exact procedure, and so I'm hesitant to say that, but I'm going to find out. I'm going to need to know that anyway. All right, so noted. Richard Kirby says, if you're 100% VA service connected, your park pass is free. Is that disabled? Yeah, that would be, VA would be what means you're disabled. Some parks, Tom Downey says some parks are free, some aren't. Oh, Tim says no, he bought it and they installed it at the dealership. Yeah, Tim, I'm going to research that so I can tell you for sure. I just don't recall the exact procedure, and I do remember there is a, there is a correct way and an incorrect way to do it, and I'm probably telling you the incorrect way because I just don't recall. It's all this gray hair. It sucks all your brain cells right out. Aaron says, current U.S. military and their dependents are eligible for a free annual America the Beautiful Pass. This pass is not available via myscenicdrives.com. Okay. Aaron asked Tim, is that concerning from the Park Pass webpage? And then Tim, of course, yeah, that's correct. Should be a manual that came with the brake controller, and Tim asks, it says it's a 2012 Toyota Tundra. Okay, I'll just make a note there and promise to do some research on that, and we'll chat about that next week. Okay, so I got you. Vet disabled is free. But yeah, and I think 65 over 65, the Park Pass is extremely reduced in price. And I think you can get the lifetime pass. Once you get over 65, I think you can get the lifetime for under $100. Now it changes every year. I think currently the National Park Pass is $80. But I think, I'm not sure if they changed that or not this year. I usually just buy one because I feel like it supports the national parks in the first place. In the second place, if you visit 2 or 3 parks, you've paid for that National Park Pass. Like, it's about $20, $25 a day to go to Yellowstone now. And, a lot of the parks, the bigger parks, do charge a bit more. I am anticipating at some point that in certain areas of Yellowstone, they're going to have to start shuttle service similar to what they have in Zion and in Yosemite. They're just it's getting so crowded up there. I was up there in September last year. I went up for a quick day of fishing up in the Madison. And even in September, after Labor Day, which is usually when things start to slow down, it was super busy. So yeah, I think that we're going to see, I think that camping availability is going to be a bit of a challenge. If you haven't made reservations and you want to go someplace and it's your favorite spot, you probably better get on it. And I think that's even true of the national parks and RV and campgrounds, RV parks too. Just your basic everyday RV parks. I saw something that might have been on the TV here on one of the national news channels. How several places that were really popular, that it was almost impossible to find a place to park in an RV park. I wonder how much of that is because people have been displaced from their homes and have had to move into RVs and live in RV parks. I don't know. I'm just speculating. Tom Downey says, vet disabled is free as far as the National Park Pass. And Tim Myers comes in with senior lifetime is $80. Okay, and that's for anybody 65 and older. So $80, that's definitely money well spent. Tom Downey says, I'm a vet. We pay, that is correct. We pay $25 a year. Purple Hearts are free if you happen to be a Purple Heart winner. So how about that? That's pretty cool. If you like the video, be sure to give me that thumbs up. Always appreciate those. If you're not subscribed, please do subscribe. Ring the notification bell. If you'd like to support the channel in other ways, you can visit my Amazon store. There's a link in the description below. Remember, as an Amazon affiliate, I get a small commission, but you pay the same price. And every little bit helps, provided they don't screw me out of my commission. Wink, wink. It's a long story for another day. Visit my website at trboland.com. Always appreciate that. And yeah, so that's the cheap commercial for for this half hour. Oh, okay. So Aaron is back up in Amana at the Amana RV Park and Event Center. It's open. It opens April 1st for 2022. He did last summer up there too, and you know, go up there and see Aaron. Amana is a really cool place to visit. Right around the, I think it's right around the first weekend in June. There's a really cool Renaissance fair out there at Amana too, and I really like that kind of stuff. It's kind of fun to go see all the people dressed up and watch them jousting and, you know, sword fighting and stuff like that. So yeah, Amana's a pretty cool place, and in fact, the birthplace of Captain Kirk is nearby there too. I did that one day when I was broke down on the Brazos with the blow it up engine. I had to write a song about that. Chris Hauser says, TR, my wife and I got the senior lifetime pass at 62. Thanks for hosting this chat. You're very welcome, Chris. So the senior lifetime is available at 62. Hey, that's cool. I can get that this year. I don't have to buy any more. James B. Old Shasta. Well, you're a first-time commenter, and we love having you here. Thanks, James. He says he's watched a number of my videos. Thank you. Well, thank you for watching. That is awesome to hear. Yeah, I enjoy doing them. There's going to be a ton of them coming over. I'll get on a, you know, regular weekly posting schedule again. Is what I'll get to is once I start to have content again. And I'll have lots of content for sure over the next. Well, I'll probably have enough to get me through most of the summer at this point. Aaron Jameson, winter set. Gotcha. If there are any other RV-related questions or comments, feel free to make them. And otherwise, we'll just continue to sit here and chat. We've been talking about just generally what RV travel is going to look like this year. And I got a sense, my gut tells me it's going to be really busy. Last year, Yellowstone saw more visitors than they had in their lifetime, you know, in their history. They had the biggest year ever. Of course, now I live, you know, within 100 miles of Yellowstone. Well, 120 miles of Yellowstone, I guess. And I've been going there my whole life, and so that's, you know, one of my favorite places to go. But I can give you some tips about Yellowstone. If you want to enjoy yourself, don't go in the morning, go in the afternoon, because you'll find that by about 3 or 4 o'clock, all the families visiting, they're going to be sick and tired of their kids. They're going to be, you know, screaming for food, and so they're all going to head back to wherever they happen to be staying or camping, and that opens up the roads, and it's much nicer in the park in the evenings from about 5 to 6 o'clock on till sunset. And in the summer, on June, you know, on the summer solstice, the sun doesn't set in Yellowstone till 10 o'clock or a little bit later. You know, you'll have sunlight till 10:30 easy because it's so far north. And so, yeah, that's there's a tip for Yellowstone travel if you're interested in going there, is to go either after Labor Day, which is a good time to go too because of the elk rut. You'll get up there and you get to hear all the elk bugling and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I would leave camp about 3 o'clock, and I haven't camped in the park for years. It's just not worth the hassle to me. I just have and know too many places outside the park. Even on the Jackson Hole side, even on the Grand Teton Park side of the park, there's lots of free camping down in there. In that puts you, within 40 minutes of the entrance if you're on the Grand Teton side, and if you're on the Henry's Lake side, on the Idaho side, you're within 20 minutes. And all around Island Park, there's lots of camping in that area, National Forest campgrounds and stuff like that. And you're 30, 35 minutes from the park entrance. You leave about 3 o'clock. They get you there about 3:30. There's not a big line to get in. Yeah, you fight the traffic for an hour, hour and a half, depending upon whether you go you head towards Norris and north, or you head south and east and head towards Old Faithful and that way, Madison and Old Faithful. Like I say, by 5:30, 6 o'clock, traffic's thinned out, and it's actually pretty enjoyable. It's a good way to beat the heat and to beat the crowds. Let's see. Tom Downey says, military camps vary. Point Mung this year was free. We paid $45 per night at Whidbey Naval Air Station. Interesting. Aaron says, tells Tom that he was stationed for 15 years at Whidbey. Yeah. Tom Downey, investigate county city parks instead of the national parks. Yeah, and that's why I say I'll be going to the Bill Fromm County Park up on the north end of Henry's Lake for sure this summer, right around the 4th of July. It's been an annual thing for me, well, every year for the last 10, except last year when I was in Arkansas. Eric Meyer says, how often does an A must have got interrupted by an errant return. Happens to me all the time. Let's see. That doesn't really do much for the color. It looked like I was a little blue tonight. James B. Old Shasta. I was thinking since fuel is so high and many have returned to work, maybe this year won't be so bad. Most likely I'll be wrong. Yeah. Like I say, I think that what you're going to find is that the areas close to cities are going to be really super busy. If you get out a little bit further, well, I just think it's going to be super busy everywhere. I know for a fact that in 19 and 20, it was starting to get really, really busy RV park wise. And in fact, the RV park I used to winter at, I was chatting with the owner who had a 60 rig waiting list to get into his place at Tucson there. And it wasn't that fancy, right? I mean, it was a nice park. But I think it's just to the point now where there's so many snowbirds, and I think Florida is probably in the same boat. And, any place where the weather's warm, Alabama, Texas, down on the Gulf, on the Gulf of Mexico and Texas, has always been popular with snowbirders. So I just think that we're going to see it's going to keep getting busier and busier as people like you and I retire and get on our RVs and go somewhere. Eric Meyer says, finger straight. Yeah, how often does an Allison Trance need to be serviced? Shop can't even find a price for the fluid, huh? Well, here's the deal. Every year, or 12,000 miles, unless you've had, or it has, synthetic oil. Now, here's the thing. You can change from non-synthetic to synthetic and increase the service interval from 12 months to 36 months. Now that's on the Allison 4000 series, 3000, 4000 series. So that's in the older RVs. I did that on mine, but it takes 2 years of service. In other words, you service it that first year, put the synthetic in it, and then you go back in 12 months later and you have the synthetic put back in it. And now you can go 36 months without changing the oil. Okay? Now that comes straight from the Freightliner National Training Department Manager. I took the CAT training, I took the Freightliner chassis training from him, Camp Freightliner, and we specifically talked about that. But yeah, if it's running standard fluid, it would be every 12,000 miles. If it's running synthetic, then you could go 36,000. As far as a fluid goes, that's ridiculous if they can't find a price on fluid. There's nothing special about it. Okay. You know, dinner's repeating. There's nothing special about it, as far as I know. I mean, it's synthetic transmission fluid, and yeah, it's expensive. It's probably $40, $50, $60 a gallon, and it takes 3 gallons or so. I'm trying to remember the last time I had Rusty serviced, how much it cost, but that would have been in 2019, 2020, no, 2019. Well, I don't remember now. I'll have to look in my records. But anyway, I think it was $300 to service the transmission, and that included the filter and the synthetic fluid and of course the labor. That was on my Allison 4000 series that's in my Newmar Freightliner chassis on that. Tom Downey says the new campsites at Whidbey are beautiful and have 50 amp full hookups and 50 tent sites. Wow, that's cool. Hi, Gracie Seeking Adventure. So nice to have you here. You were so kind with your donation last week. I greatly appreciate that. Chris Hauser says, we have been on the road camping since the last week of January in Georgia and Florida. I'm jelly. Just a few more days before we head back home to Tennessee. I saw a bunch of spaces in southern Florida. We are now in St. Augustine. Yeah, it's starting to become off-season there. All the snowbirders are headed home, Chris. So I've noticed that. The golf course we played on Sunday is out near the interstate. It's right on the interstate, actually. And there were lots of RVs headed north. So, yeah, and all of our Canadian friends were able to come south this last fall, almost middle of winter. But I know I saw a lot of Canadian rigs going south as soon as they opened the border. I actually went out and parked up near the interstate. There's a hiking trail up near the interstate just above me. I went up there and did a quick hike, and I was just sitting there watching the traffic on the road, and there was a lot of Canadian rigs going south. Eric Myers has 06 Fleetwood with 152,000 miles. Eric, if you've never had it serviced, I would get it serviced because transmissions are hella expensive. And you probably have an MT4000. You probably have the Allison, either a 3 or a 4000 Allison in that, regardless of whether you're on a Spartan or Freightliner. I think those Allisons are pretty much the de facto standard. But yeah, you definitely want to get that thing serviced because they can be real expensive. Oh, Tom Downey was commenting back on his comment that said the new spaces at Whidbey are right on the bluff overlooking the beach. Sounds pretty cool, Tom. I might have to get out that way this summer. I may make it out middle of July, end of July to Sonomish, which is there in Seattle area, so Whidbey's not that far from there. Eric Meyer says, this particular fluid is specific to my VIN? Huh. Who manufactured your chassis? Is it a Freightliner or a Spartan? I'd call them, and they're certainly going to be able to get it for you. I've never heard of that. Anybody, Tim, Tom, any of you guys out there with the big Class C's and Class A's that have big trannies in them ever run into that special fluid? I guess I'm not saying it's not possible, but yeah, I would just call whoever manufactured your chassis and ask them, because they're certainly going to be able to get it, I would think. Aaron's meetup will be August 12th through the 14th at the Amana RV Park and Event Center in Amana, Iowa. More information can be found over on Facebook, so go over and check out the link Aaron just posted if you're interested in that. That sounds pretty fun and interesting. Eric Meyer says he's had it for 3 years, don't know when it was serviced last. Yeah, I think you want to get that thing serviced, for sure. Tom Downey says, glad I have the Spartans Cummins. My trash engine service was $55. Huh. James B. Old Shasta. Eric, usually when you don't know when you should change all fluids. Yeah, that's a good point, James. Yeah, that's a really good point. Oh, it sounds like Tim Myers might be headed out to Washington this September. That's cool. Eric says Freightliner shop called them and Allison. Huh. Tim Myers says, nope, I think the synthetic is called Transcend or something like that. Yeah, that sounds about right, Eric, or Tim. But, yeah, excuse me while I become distracted here for just a minute. That question... It's just got me curious. Yeah, okay, so I'm not going to sit here and try to search too much, but that is really strange. I guess it seems like maybe I do remember reading somewhere that there was some special fluid out there for certain. I don't know. That's really weird. I'm thinking that any good synthetic would work, but who knows? Especially with an Allison. I can't imagine Allison putting out a transmission that would take a special fluid for one particular year or company. That's just kind of goes against standard engineering practice as far as transmissions and stuff go, because if you have special stuff in a transmission, then you have to maintain special parts, extra special parts. James B. Old Shasta going up the Oregon coast this July, Coos Bay and up to Astoria. I've done that route, and it's really nice. I did that route back in 1981. Drove all the way from here and drove the coast. I remember it rained so hard one night. I was car camping with a tent. It rained on me so hard one night that I finally gave up, got up and got in the car. Just because my tent was completely flooded. And when I got up in the morning, there were about 7 of these big banana slugs, about that long, all colors that you can even imagine, all different colors. So that was kind of fun, kind of cool. But yeah, the Oregon coast is amazing. Tom Downey says, I would not mix fluid with the flush. Yeah, it's going to be specific, I guess, to that tranny. Because I know that I spoke to specifically to the guy from that I took the Freightliner class from. In fact, I was going to go over there, and that might have been where I remember reading that. Was in the materials that I got for that. Yeah, geez, I don't see it. Okay, I will stand corrected. In the Allison Service Manual, yeah, it's 12 months. 12 months or 40,000 miles, or 40,000 kilometers, 25,000 miles. So what they list is general vocation. I'll just show you here if that actually swapped. It did. Okay, cool. So this is the Allison Service Manual right here, and here's the 3,000 fluid for non-TES, that's non-synthetic, and then for the Transcend is what it's called, Tim. There we go. It's 48 months or 150,000 miles. Okay, so I stand corrected on those. And on the 4,000, I would imagine it's going to be the same. Yeah, 12 months, 25,000 miles. 48 months, 150,000 miles. So yeah, and I was just going to see here if there's anything in here about the fluid. For you, let's see. No, nothing special. It doesn't look like. Well, some recommended operating temperatures, but okay, yeah, that's troubleshooting codes. But yeah, that's the Allison Motorhome Operator's Manual right there. So, by the way, if anybody wants a copy of that, you can just drop me an email, tr@trbolin.com, well, I'll get it right, trbolin@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to send that to you. I've got some other pretty specific manuals and stuff to the engine, Cat 3126, and the transmissions that have been a little hard to come by in some cases. But let me come back over here and see what we got comment-wise. If you're just joining the stream, I appreciate that thumbs up. Always, those are great to get. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Ring the notification bell. Just a reminder, next week will be the last weekly live stream for a couple months. The way to be reminded so you don't miss it is to ring the notification bell. That's next to the subscribe button on my YouTube homepage. And yeah, so we'll be here next Tuesday, and then off until the first Tuesday in May. Just have lots of stuff going on, and I'm going to need my Tuesday nights. Let's see here. Yeah, Transcend. Yep, good call there, Tim. Tom Downey says his truck service center doesn't change the trans oil when they run the trans fluid. True filter and check the filters. Sounds like I think your voice or your text voice recognition got wacky. Oh yeah. In newer vehicles, that's what they do. What they have to do is they have to check and test the oxidation level on the older rigs, And if the oxidation level is below a certain point, then they can filter it like that. I just had the transmission serviced on my pickup, on the Chevy Silverado. And yeah, they just flushed it out. They just run it through a special machine that hyperfilters it. They replace anything that doesn't, they replace any fluid that they lose during the filtering and the moving of the fluids back and forth. But yeah, when I had my trans service, they dropped the pan and the filter on the RV, on the motorhome, and then they just top it off with fresh fluid. Tim says he has the 2500 transmission. There you go. Gracie's seeking adventures. So many wonderful pull-offs along 101, and you can overnight in many of them. Yeah, you're lucky that you live out that way, Gracie. You probably know a lot of those, and I agree. Yeah, there's a lot of cool places along the 101. The thing about it is they're pretty well marked, too, right? So if it's a no parking area, overnight parking, they're pretty good about marking it. Oh, Tom Downey says he would not mix fluid without a flush. Yeah, I'm not sure how they do it. I just know that it's perfectly all right to update the fluid in the 3000s and 4000s. And I don't know why it wouldn't be with the 2500, Tim, to be honest with you. I mean, they're just a little bit smaller units, engineered, capacity-wise. But yeah. James B. Old Shasta says, 81, I graduated from Eureka High School in that year. Cool. Yeah, Eureka's a great place. That's right there on the coast almost. James to Gracie says, I just put 2 Battleborn lithiums and a Victron monitor, so I plan to dry dock when I can. Yeah, I got 2 Battleborn lithiums for the truck camper sitting right back there. Faunching at the bit to get him in, but I got to get the Rusty ready to go first. Tom Downey says he'll take a sample of trans fluid and send it out for test. They send me a report. If it's good, I don't change it. Yeah, at 152,000 miles, though, and having had it 3 years and not serviced it, Eric, I think you probably ought to get her serviced. You'll be happier in the long run, in my humble opinion. I don't think you can underestimate the value of maintenance, and I don't think Tom's saying don't do maintenance. Absolutely, that's not what he's saying, because he's been around long enough to know he knows better than that. But yeah, there's ways to check. I used to get, and I still get my oil sample. I get my oil sampled and checked every time I have it serviced. Have the oil serviced too. Gracie's seeking adventure. Right on, James. You could boondock all the way up the coast. Yep. Tim says he has Transcend. Oh, perfect. Eric, yeah. Maintenance is cheap. Breaking down on the side of the road, having to get a transmission in, Podunk, Nevada, is not where you want to be. Just another side note, we're just about out of time here, but I had a discussion with a friend of mine the other day. He was asking me about roadside service, just for his car, just in general. And I said, well, you need to double check, because a lot of the companies, and I know AAA's this way, I'm not sure about Good Sam, FMCA, or any of those, but they won't tow you off a dirt highway, off a dirt road. So keep that in mind. You might have roadside assistance, but if you're on a dirt road, it may not cover you. And then you're on the hook to get yourself out of there or get yourself to the road, so they'll come and get you. Of course, you're going to have to pay a tow truck to come get you. If you're into a situation where you got to get a tow, you got to get a tow. You're not going to, I don't know how you're going to get yourself anywhere. But with that being said, I think it's a good idea to make sure that your roadside assistance covers where you're going. And in fact, one of the articles I've been working on for a while now is how to compare roadside assistance plans and what's good and what's not. I'm always hesitant to make recommendations for something that I can't say anything about, other than I do know about Good Sam, and I haven't never had any trouble with my Good Sam. Knock on wood. Let's see. Gracie asks, why won't they tow on a dirt road? It limits the cost to them. You could be 40 miles out of dirt road. They don't want to have to run a semi tow truck out to pick up a fifth wheel or a motorhome that's broke down 40 miles down a dirt road. So it just limits their liability. It limits their costs. It also, I suspect probably what's happened is that over the years enough people got themselves in trouble way off the road that it just got so expensive that they weren't making any money on their roadside assistance. That's why companies like Matt's off-road towing, or Matt's whatever it's called, he's down there in the Hurricane area in Utah. There's 3 or 4 others, Casey Liddell. There's a guy in Moab. They all have channels on YouTube that I watch off and on when they do off-road recovery. And I bet that is expensive in some cases. Okay, so we'll go last call for questions or make comments. Throw them over there in the chat window. Otherwise, I think we'll wrap her up for tonight. Oh, I see. Okay, James B. Old Shasta says, I had AAA tow me a couple of miles off the high roadway, but you have to have the upper level subscription. Got it. Yeah. Well, it makes sense to just double check your roadside assistance, and so you don't get yourself into a situation where you're somewhere and they say, oh well, we won't come there, and it's hella expensive to get a tow truck out to tow a Class A, B, or C, or anything that you're off the road in. I think that's within reason, right? I mean, a lot of the guys that I'm talking about, these off-road recovery guys, they're towing guys in Jeeps who blow axles out and they're 15 miles back in the backcountry. And it takes a 4-wheel drive and a half to get to them. Thanks, James. Thanks for being here. Tom Downey, does your insurance cover the contents of the basement? Yes and no. I personally, when I was full-timing Tom, added extra coverage for 2 reasons. One, I had things in storage that I wanted to cover. And then I was carrying, I had cameras and some high dollar equipment. And there are some limits to the coverage that you need to review, your policy to know what those are. The additional coverage was cheap. So what I did was I got $35,000 of contents coverage. And that contents coverage also covered the stuff I had in storage. That was through Geico. Again, I've never had a claim with Geico, so I don't know how good they are. And that's really when the rubber hits the road. It's not, it has a little bit to do with how much it costs, but it has a lot to do with how big of a pain in the rear it is to get, to get a claim done or something like that. So, 125 million miles. Oh, 1.25, 125,000. Where are my glasses? I need to blow that up. So, Tom, I added additional coverage. G. Davis says he thinks it's called AAA Plus. Great. Thanks, Gracie. It's so nice having you here, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Good night, Tim. Um, have a great trip next week, and we'll see you soon. Hi, Two Feathers, and bye, Two Feathers. See you next week, hopefully. Hope things are well with you. Eric Myers says I have. Tim Myers is shouting out the Two Feathers. Awesome. All right. Last call. Okay. Well, thanks everybody. I'll see you next Tuesday night, 7 p.m., same bat time, same bat channel. Until we get together next week, peace. Good night. See you around town, Scouter. Nice to have you here.